Hey guys, Cameron with Home 2 Canine Dog Training and Hope 2 Canine Rescue. I'm the founder and director of Hope 2 Canine Rescue. We're an all-breed dog rescue, in case you're not familiar with us, based about 45 minutes north of San Diego. And what's unique about our program is that the dogs that come into Hope 2 Canine Rescue receive a complete board and train before going out to their adoptive families. This is a super important video, one that I really hope you'll bear with me about, because I don't want to forget anything, and it may not be as smooth as it could be, but it's a super important topic that we need to get connected about, and that is that we are not a no-kill organization. And the reason for that is because we have open doors to special needs dogs, special needs behavioral dogs, special needs health dogs. We do give dogs an opportunity to get the information that they need, get the tools, get the resources that they may be lacking that cultivated behavior problems in a prior home environment that are fixable, right? If we have a dog, for example, who's extremely anxious, who doesn't have authentic confidence, or who is just bratty and out of control and doesn't have boundaries or direction, when we get the right pieces of the puzzle in place, just like you as a private owner, for example, can go get a dog trainer to help you to interpret why your dog's behavior is what it is and how to give them the information they need to change that. A lot of times when we give dogs information, we get them into a training program, we start cleaning up attitude and intention issues, we start giving them authentic confidence and direction and a job to do. We see totally wonderful changes, right? We see a dog who is a great adoption candidate, a dog that can be successful in a family home, or maybe they need to be without kids or without other dogs, but that they deserve a chance, that they're not a dangerous dog. There are exceptions to that rule, however. There are dogs who come into the program who are not safe dogs, who have behavior, patterns, too many, times they've practiced a behavior, they have bad habits that are really unreliable for us to eliminate, or that are really risky for us to put out into the community and trust that the community is going to be able to deal with that dog's needs and keep, everything just so, to prevent that dog from being in a situation where the pressure is just too high. So I want to talk with you guys about this concept of no kill, because it's an extremely dangerous thing that's going on in the rescue world. There's sort of a bandwagon mentality that we should save every dog, and that that euthanasia is so horrible and so wrong for us to do. And the reality is we don't have places for all of these dogs that are in the shelters, rescues, and organizations like ours. We just don't. That we don't have homes for all these dogs to go to, let alone the difficult ones, the dangerous ones, the challenging ones, the ones that need such a perfect situation in order to thrive, that it's truly unreasonable to ask that of the average dog owner who's coming along to bring a new family member into their home. So I wanted to start not just with sharing that about our organization, that we are in fact, not a no-kill organization. If a dog is in our program and they are deemed to be unsafe with both people and dogs, we will not place that dog. We will not place that dog. I firmly believe that our responsibility, first and foremost, is to the community. It is to keeping children and adults in the community safe. It is to keeping other animals safe as much as possible. We have to come from that place first and foremost. We have had 2 dogs that we've had to put down in the history of our program, which is darn good, numbers considering how many dogs we've helped save and how many people we've helped counsel to keep their dogs in their homes. But one of those dogs recently was Duke. And if you followed us for any length of time, we had Duke for something like 200 days. He was here January 2nd until earlier this month, a few weeks ago. And I hadn't posted about it yet because for several reasons. One, I was reaching out to the former owner and giving respect for them to have the information and to go through a little bit of grieving before we shared. We had several volunteers who were very attached to Duke and very much pulling for him, who had great experiences with him, who didn't fully resonate with the decision and understand exactly what behavior problems we were encountering that made us, that tipped things over into that final decision of what was safest and best for him. And they did an amazing job pouring into a quality of life for him at the end, spending time with him, hiking him, taking him out the day that we had to put him to sleep, and giving him some fabulous treats and adventures. It was really, really, truly phenomenal for us to have that level of support, and the right thing for Duke to have that level of support. But at the end of the day, they were not in a position to adopt him, and even if they had been, we would not have sent Duke out of the program, because the behavior choices that had stacked up against him were problematic and dangerous in both the human and the dog department. He'd severely mauled a dog. He had been very sketchy and unpredictable with many people, particularly who would approach or pass his crate, but also, on leash or off leash. And again, we firmly believe that it's our responsibility to protect the public and to make sure that dogs like Duke don't give breeds like pit bulls and bully breed dogs, already struggling with a bad name and a bad reputation, another reason for people to think that they shouldn't exist at all. So I was waiting to share with you guys the decision had been made, because I wanted to give some respect to that former family who was within our community still and watching and waiting to see what would happen with Duke. And I hope you understand my delay in making the decision to share that publicly with you all. I'm sitting here because we planted a hibiscus tree in honor of Duke and Leto. Leto happens to be the other dog that we had to put to sleep last year, who also had issues with humans and dogs. He was a bull breed mix. He was a rescue from Mexico. Both of these dogs were high drive dogs, which means, they're very high energy. They need lots of management. They need a job. They need lots of direction. They're very strong dogs physically. And this is not always the way things go with bully breed dogs that are strong dogs. Our lead trainer here, for example, Kai, has a gorgeous bull breed, American Bulldog dog who's 100 pounds and ridiculously strong, and one of the sweetest dogs you will ever meet. Extremely dog social, very good with people. The potential for these dogs to be successful in all areas is extraordinarily high. They're typically very hardy, very eager to please, great workers. But not all dogs in every breed come out without flaw, without genetic issues, and genetics count for a lot, you guys. So sometimes there's something at work in that department. Sometimes it's that plus what the puppy didn't get when it was being raised, conditioning and socialization and rules and boundaries and accountability it didn't get at critical developmental stages. Sometimes it's an incident or two or three that stack up, that cultivate the belief system in the dog that they should take action in a certain way, that they have the right to behave a certain way towards certain beings. It can be many, many factors. The thing that brings me back around to why we make the decision that we make, and something I think is so critical for you guys to understand, actually has to do with a story that I read last night about a pit bull who was being returned potentially to a shelter it had just been adopted from because it had attacked a dog that came onto its property, something like within the first 24 hours after being adopted. And the story that I was reading was actually extremely aggressive and slanderous of the adoptive couple that had purchased this dog, brought this dog into their home from the shelter. It was extremely hard on them, and I think unnecessarily so. But I have to tell you, I understand both sides. I completely understand the person who was venting. I think they were emotional. I think they probably should have put the phone down and not shared what they were going through in that moment, and that maybe they realize that even today, now that they've gone through that process of sharing their story. Regardless, I want to tell you my perspective on both of those things with respect to what we've gone through with some of these dogs like Duke and Leto. As an adopter, it's extremely important that you have respect for everything we've put in a shelter or a rescue organization, creating balance again in this dog. If you're interested in a dog and you're adopting them, you have to recognize they do not escape cumulative stress. Okay? Any dog that's been passed around, that has lacked stability in its life, that has been, even from the home to a shelter, let alone many homes, many times into a shelter, which a lot of these dogs have, you know, it's absolutely unavoidable that they have cumulative stress. And what that cumulative stress is like is very much the way that you and I struggle with day-to-day triggers and stressors that we go through that eventually lead to road rage, right? Or flipping out on a family member for a very small, insignificant issue. You know, every day, dogs, just like us, are going through their daily life, taking the crap that life throws at them, taking the stimulus outside that they can't process well, that they don't understand, that's not familiar to them, that startled them, that caused them to have cortisol shooting through their body, and to try to figure out, do I need to go into flight or fight, or am I okay here? Every day, dogs are struggling through the stress and anxiety of togetherness addiction. The fact that their owner is gone for 10 hours and then comes home and makes a big scene about it creates a lot of anxiety in the dog because, oh my gosh, yes, I needed you, I missed you, I was struggling to cope without you. Every day our dogs are going through a lack of information, an owner who doesn't mark and communicate what they want from the dog, but yells and punishes and reacts when they get something they don't want from the dog. So when you adopt a dog, you are inheriting like a satchel or maybe a whole Louis Vuitton collection of cumulative stress luggage. And you have to understand that your responsibility, much like if you were adopting an orphan child, is to respect the individual, to provide massive structure and stability, and to be understanding that things are going to go like this for a while. That dog is not going to, it is a very rare dog, I should say, that will come home, drop into your home environment, your family, your lifestyle, and have no struggles or no issues, no triggers and no challenges or no confusion, right? It is extraordinarily rare that you would be able to say that that's the case. That's a diamond in the rough, once in a lifetime, heart case dog, we call it, right? So as an adopter, it's extremely important that you have respect and reverence for the fact that you are bringing a predator into your home who has cumulative stress and who is not bonded with you yet, does not have relationship. So they don't have to trust you. They don't have to respect you fully. You have to earn those things, right? And you earn them by providing that dog their basic needs. What they are most concerned about is who's leading the pack, where do they fit, and how do they get their resources, okay? This is so critical, you guys. So for that individual, hang on. Can't go 12 minutes and not have a drink of coffee. For that individual who was sharing their rant, I have to give them, I have to give them that space to recognize that they're rightfully frustrated. They're rightfully frustrated that people are human beings who make a lot of mistakes, who are very broken, and who don't follow directions well. I also have to hold that person accountable, and any of you who are in the rescue world along with her, that it is unreasonable to expect our adopters to be perfect. It is utterly unreasonable and unfair to expect that every person meeting their new dog for the first time is going to want to prioritize punishing it or restricting it from freedom or limiting their own access to it because they're trying to prevent or repair separation anxiety, or because they're trying to pave the way for a better, solid leadership structure and understanding and respect with that dog. It is so hard. When you get a new toy, what do you want to do? First thing you want to do is spend all of your focus and energy on it. Imagine when you get a new cell phone. You upgrade your cell phone and suddenly it's the newfangled shit, right? It's so exciting. It has all these features. The first thing you want to do is get home, back everything up, transfer your contacts, and spend all of your energy and attention getting yourself dialed into that new device. Same thing happens with dogs, you guys, only it's worse because they're fluffy and they're cute and they bring us back to nature. And so in the rescue world, it really truly is our responsibility to understand that that is just the truth of people. That is just the truth of human nature. And that while we can take challenging dogs and make some serious magic in a very structured program, and there are amazing adopters who have respect and understanding for a higher calling of rescue and adoption and stewardship, which I think is the more appropriate word for us to use to think about dogs who are coming into our home, whether bitty bitty baby, fresh start, blank slate, or 5, 6, 7 years old with some baggage. Our job is really to think about stewardship and to educate the public about that stewardship and what that looks like and why it's so important if they're going to rescue and contribute to giving dogs homes who have been displaced and not had a chance yet. But it's also massively to respect our species and to respect that we're going to fail at that massively. We're going to struggle, with the exception of a very rare few of us, to recognize that that new toy is something that actually needs to go in its crate for a few hours the first day it comes home. Our new toy is something that needs to be walked in a structured heel every single day as soon as it comes home. Our new toy needs to be put on place in a downstay and made to stay there for a couple of hours while we have dinner or watch a movie or have company over every single day. The human species is going to struggle to follow through on that, even if they've seen the behavior history in their own personal dog. We get clients all the time who go through $3,000 program with us and they still struggle. Internally, they have so much work to do to get to a point where they understand the absolute importance, the critical nature of changing the relationship dynamic to meet their dog's needs, to no longer see those behavior issues that brought them in here in the first place. Somebody who is brand new, bringing a brand new dog home, they don't have the relationship to the behavior potential to understand the severity of why they should follow directions. They just don't. It is extremely rare that you find somebody, and even still they're going to struggle and make mistakes from time to time. So, that being said, we are not a no-kill organization because we know this about people and we believe ourselves to be more responsible to the public than to the dogs. And that may be challenging for some rescue entities to come to terms with, but I have to tell you, my reasoning for that is not because I don't want to look bad or I don't want to deal with people who are struggling with a challenging dog, because my God, we do deal with those things on the daily. I do have that stance because I have already sent dogs home who had questionable behavior that we felt had absolutely every chance at being put in exactly the right home and succeeding. I'm going to give you an example. One of our gorgeous dogs that we sent to a phenomenal home, a dog trainer, right? Dog trainer adopting this dog who's dog aggressive. So for all intents and purposes, this dog is wonderful with people, no issues with kids ever. We had her for several months. We knew her inside and out. We said she cannot be with other dogs. You cannot trust her. She has absolutely gone after dogs in spite of the training. This dog was in the home for a month or two, I suppose. I can't remember exactly. And some guards started to be letting down, right? Guard starts coming down, trust starts brewing in the dog, chances start being taken, the dog kills another relative's dog. It's just that blunt, you guys. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. And that was for a dog trainer with tremendous access to information, the formula, you know, the ingredients to creating success. It's just the mere fact that the dog shows you they're getting better, they're doing great, you can relax a little bit, but no, you can't. And that is really unfair. It was extremely traumatic. It was extremely horrible for their family to go through, and it's still playing out. It's probably been 2 months. It's still playing out. There's resentment and hurt from the relatives, the owner of the dog who's deceased. There is, you know, humility and embarrassment and heartache from the owners of the adopted dog. And that is totally unfair. If we knew ahead of time that this dog was dog aggressive and could do damage to another dog, I truly believe that is unfair. And we did, and we divulged it. We shared it, we communicated it, we supported it, we gave tools, we gave solutions for management, and still accidents happen. So we have to have respect for the population at large. The fact that most of the dogs who are being adopted from us are not being adopted by dog trainers. Most of the dogs who are being adopted from us are being adopted by people just like you, who, you know, or your cousin or your sister or your neighbor, who don't understand that for the long haul, This is serious business. For the long haul, with a dog that has behavior like that, or behavior history or tendency, you know, this is an extremely high calling, and it does limit your life. And these are the dogs that keep us up at night as rescue workers. So again, there is always two sides to this coin, and I have tremendous respect for the heartache and frustration that rescuer was feeling when she ranted about a new adopter failing a dog she brought into her home. But I also have to hold that person accountable, that we have to respect what we know about human beings. We have to respect what we know about dogs. And there are too many scenarios where a dog with cumulative stress, behavior baggage, genetic malfunctions and problems, and a lack of 100% ability to give it exactly the advocacy and boundaries and accountability that it needs, ends up meaning a lot of heartache potentially for more than one family. Okay? We've had other scenarios where adopted dogs have gone out and bitten a family member, a human, or, you know, dogs that just, if there's anxiety, if there's, you know, too much cumulative stress in the dog inherently, and the program, which is a phenomenal program, I mean, we do amazing work here. On the private side, we have extremely happy clients that have had dramatic life changes, you guys, but it's a partnership. It's a partnership. That dramatic change was because we did what we do best and they did what they needed to do best, right? Which was to change their dynamic and to stay committed to their dog. So I know this is getting really long, but it's an extremely important topic for us to discuss, and I really wanted to show you both sides of the coin. As a rescue worker, I've got to hold you guys accountable. You can't put dogs out that are going to put the community at risk. You can't put dogs out in families where you're sure someone's going to make a mistake and fail, and you know that if they do, that dog would not surprise you if that dog harmed another animal or a person. You cannot be putting these dogs out in the community. If you are an owner of one of these dogs, you cannot put the responsibility on someone else, a shelter, a foster, a rescue organization, to make the decision for you that you know needs to be made. If you have a dog that is dangerous with humans and dogs, the best case scenario is that you pursue really good training so that you can understand if you have contributed to that on any level and better yourself and your relationship with dogs overall, and so that you can be sure you've done everything you could before making a decision if that dog needs to be put down. And not all dogs can or should be saved. So I really want to support those families that are struggling with dangerous dogs that they don't think they can keep in their home, but that they're trying to find a way out of making the tough call. Please don't put rescues and shelter organizations in the hot seat to make this decision for you about your dog. Please, please, please be responsible and respect the stewardship you committed to for that dog, and make the decision yourself if you need to. All right? We have an incredible program here to serve the community and help them to understand whether or not the decision should be to save, place, or euthanize a dog. We will always be willing to connect with you, whether by phone, Skype session, or if you're local and coming in person to meet with us, we can talk with you at one of our community classes and help you to make that decision if necessary. Oftentimes there is a tremendous amount you can do to create huge changes and find a successful management strategy with that dog. But that dog really needs to stay in your home with that training and management strategy, or you need to make a difficult decision to let it go and be responsible and respectful for the public, all right? So hugely, hugely challenging topic. I really hope I didn't leave anything out, but it's extremely important to me that you guys respect and understand that the reason we're not a no-kill organization is because it does not respect and honor the public and the limited number of adopters who can rise to the occasion, even as a dog trainer, and ensure the safety of that dog or the public. And that's just not a risk we're willing to take if we run into situations with these dogs that do not show us reliable behavior with both people and other animals. And if you're an owner in one of those situations, we want you to feel clear that you do have solutions, you do have support, and that there is understanding if you cannot manage that dog. Don't keep that dog in a situation where it's going to potentially get itself into more trouble. Don't keep that dog in a situation where you're going to potentially cause harm to somebody else or their pets and have to live with the guilt and the stress of that. It isn't worth it. There are so many phenomenal dogs out there. We get so many dogs coming through our program that even if they show behavioral struggles at first glance, have many options once given the right formula for success in a home environment. But not all of them do come through it, showing us that they have a solid fighting chance at being good citizens. And we are not proponents of making it work in the face of potentially creating a lot of heartache for folks in the community. So, please have some respect for your rescue shelter workers, your organization, volunteers, people who bond with these dogs, who give it everything they have. It costs us $1,600 to send a dog through our rescue program for the 3 weeks. The training, the food, the vetting, potentially everything that it needs. When a dog is here as long as dogs like Duke or Leto, some 200 plus days, it's a lot of financial investment that we've expended. We do not make these decisions lightly. We do not make these decisions flippantly. We always invest the time necessary to see what that dog's potential is. And our volunteers certainly get attached and invested as well. So please have respect for the organization's workers. Many of them lose sleep over your dog that you've surrendered to an organization instead of making the tough call and owning that responsibility yourself. And those rescue workers need to know they can only lose so many nights sleep before they start getting sick. They can't stay committed to doing the things they need to do in their own families. We're gonna have a little noise for a second here and I need to wrap up. But if you're a rescue worker, if you're a volunteer and you're really in it deep and you started to get into that messy place that we regularly talk about here, it's really important that you recognize your responsibility to yourself. You cannot count on the world of rescue to get easier. You cannot count on it to get smoother and more handholdy and more comfortable. They're really committed right now. Hang on, guys. It's crazy low. You can't count on this lifestyle to get friendlier for your heart. You have to have boundaries within yourself and your own life to make sure that you are being responsible and fair to yourself, your family, your own dogs. If you're losing sleep, if you're ranting on Facebook, you're overcooked. Your plate is too full and you need to take some action right now today, please, to find some balance. You will not do your best work if you stay in that state of mind. You will not be able to serve as many dogs or families as I know you want to if you stay in that place of overwhelm and frustration and you're struggling to see and empathize with the fact that our adopters are just people. They're just people. I guess I'm gonna wrap it there, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I know this is a doozy. I really appreciate everything you do on both sides of the coin. Families that have stayed committed to challenging dogs, my hat is off to you. It is a high calling. Not everyone can do it, and we have mad props for you. Families that have had to let a dog go, much sympathy to you. We know the pain of that loss. We know you didn't make that decision flippantly. Thank you for supporting our organization and allowing us to do the work that we do and to give dogs a chance, and for respecting and understanding when we need to make tough calls. All right, guys, bye for now.